Good morning, everyone. As soon as we start, we'll see where we are as soon as I'm warmed up here. Yeah. Water. Me either. Me either. Okay. Oh, we're going to do that. Okay. And you'll explain. You'll. What? Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Wednesday, July 26th, 2017.
Commissioner James, Davis, and Jacinto are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Engineering.
Robert Nielsen, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Sefi Wiles, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, David Rivera, Street Services.
Good morning, Robert Potter, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Dr. Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we have no speaker cards under general public comment, and we also have no commentary into the Neighborhood Council comment section, and no speaker cards on any of the items for today's agenda.
Okay, then we'll close general public comment and the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. We have some assessment hearings, agenda items 1 through 6 for the Bureau of Street Lighting in Council Districts 7 for 1 through 4, and then 5 and 6 are 1, 10, 11, and 13. Mr. Flamenco on 1 through 6.
Ruben Flamenco, Bureau of Street Lighting. Items 1 through 4 and item 6 pertain to lighting districts which we are creating in conjunction with private development projects. Item 5 pertains to a lighting district which we are creating in conjunction with the Bureau of Street Lighting initiated LED conversion project. Only public parcels are impacted. No private parcels are included in this particular lighting district. Ballots for items 1 through 6 were mailed on June 15, 2017. Ballots for items 1 through 6 must be received by the City Clerk's office by next Wednesday, August 2nd. We have not received any objections to date on items 1 through 6. We are requesting for the board to adopt and forward items 1 through 6 forthwith to City Council.
Okay, any questions on agenda items 1 through 6? Okay, I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda items 1 through 6. Is there a second? By Commissioner Jacinto. Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda items 1 through 6. Any issues sending 1 through 6 forthwith? All right, we will send 1 through 6 forthwith. Agenda item number 7, request for authorization, Los Angeles County Local Small Business Enterprise List, recommending that the board authorize the Department of Public Works Bureau of Contract Administration to recognize firms certified as a local small business enterprise by the County of Los Angeles as local business enterprises for the City of Los Angeles contracts. Diana G. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Diana G, and I work in the centralized certification section of the Office of Contract Compliance, Bureau of Contract Administration. To provide some background information, BCA is in charge of administering the city's verification of LBE firms to be used for various city-funded projects. However, due to staff constraints, BCA has not been able to process the influx of incoming applications in a timely manner, resulting in a current backlog. We are requesting for this authorization as we believe it will help eliminate the wait list for the certification, increase the city's LBE certified population, and increase overall efficiency of the certification process. There are many similarities between the city and county certification criteria. The eligibility requirements for the county's LSBE certification not only meet the requirements under the city's LBE certification for being headquartered in LA County, it is actually more stringent in that the county's eligibility criteria requires the applicant firm to have its principal place of business or headquarters be located within the boundaries of LA County and have been operating for at least the last 12 months. We believe that receiving authorization to recognize the county's certification will help clear the pending list of backlog certification requests at a faster rate, and in preventing duplication of efforts for both BCA and for applicant firms, it will make the certification process an easy transition for applicants when pursuing business with the city. We also hope to see an increase in efficiency and a larger pool of certified firms listed in LA Bobbin to be considered for city contracts. Your approval for this authorization would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. And are there any questions?
Thank you. We'll start with Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Diana, this is your first time presenting?
Yes.
Right. Very good.
Thank you.
Cool, you did a great job. You know, when I got the briefing from Linda, I thought this was really exciting because it really dovetails into Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Repenning's work and leadership on our Business Advisory Committee. And if we're able to grow our field of maybe of diverse small businesses who then can increase our numbers of our business inclusion program, our MeBe, WeBe, OSBE, and it is a good thing for our city because we'll be able to have more diversity. And so when we were talking, it also, we don't know the exact numbers, but there's a projection that it will overall increase the numbers of LBEs and of diverse small businesses, correct?
Yes, that's what we're hoping for.
The other question would be reciprocity. Have we broached that with the county and accepting our LBE for their LSBE as well?
At this point, we are only looking to recognize their certification. In the future, we will work with them to possibly have reciprocity for being headquartered in LA County.
Excellent. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. Commissioner Davis.
Yes, Diana, thank you so very much for this report. I think this is critically important work that you and the Bureau are doing. We have an extension of what you've already accomplished by extending this concept from other databases as well that you have done in the past. So I'm glad to see you add on to that. And it's really natural that we would cooperate and collaborate with the county. Of course, we are the county's largest city. And what I like is the results that we'll be able to accomplish in terms of increasing the numbers of minority and women, as well as just general small businesses, but particularly where our gap is on minority and women. This will help us be more vital, more prepared, and ready and willing to be able to create opportunities for those that we want to provide employment for. And they provide in return service for us. So again, I want to compliment you on your first presentation. It was quite a great dynamic presentation you have, bringing us something that really matters in terms of one of the mayor's back to basic principles is creating work in Los Angeles for all of Los Angeles. And I think that this is a perfect example of a task that our bureaus do that helps make that happen. So thank you for your report today.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a couple of leading questions to get confirmation for so that we've got a clear record on it, okay? There's no doubt with the Bureau of Contract Administration in the authenticity of the county information, correct?
I'm sorry.
We're comfortable with the authenticity of the information that we get from the county?
Yes.
Okay. And I went over these during the briefing, but during the briefing it wasn't on a public record, so I'm doing it again. And we don't feel there's any risk of city requirements being lost along the way by relying on the county information, correct?
For any issues, for firms currently certified by LA County but previously denied by BCA, we will require sufficient documentation that the basis for denial has been rectified before approving them of LBE for the city.
So we have a stopgap method if necessary.
Yes.
Great. That's all I have. Is there a motion on number 7 by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Jacinto? Any objection? Without objection, we will adopt agenda item number 7. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Board of Public Works. Agenda item, well, before we do number 8, is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Friday, June 30th, 2017? By Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we will approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of June 30th, 2017. Agenda item number 8, Public Works Trust Fund loan, Taylor Yard, River Park. Recommending that the board, and there are a few items here that I need to read through, and then I understand that we have an amendment that either Mr. Jordan or Mr. Campos would like to put on the record. Public Works Trust Fund loan, Taylor Yard River Park, recommending that the board first acknowledge the city council and mayoral action authorizing the city engineer or designee to accept, negotiate, execute, and submit all grant documents, including but not limited to agreements and amendments subject to the approval of the city attorney as to form which may be necessary to receive funding from the California State Coastal Conservancy for the implementation plan for Taylor Yard River Park on the Los Angeles River, not exceeding the amount of $2 million. That's transmittal number 1. Secondly, authorize a loan from the Public Works Trust Fund, Fund number 834, Department number 50, in the amount of $700,000 to front fund the plan, which is the Taylor Yard River Park on the Los Angeles River, until sufficient grant fund, we'll call that the plan, until sufficient grant funds are received to repay the loan. Third, authorize the Director of the Office of Accounting to release the Public Works Trust Fund loan as soon as the copy of the grant award is received from the Bureau of Engineering. 4, authorize the Director of the Office of Accounting to assess and collect monthly interest on loans at the rate that the Office of Finance is using to allocate interest to various investment pools. Any unpaid interest at the end of the year will be added to the principal amount of the loan. 5th, authorize the Director of the Office of Accounting to transfer $700,000 from the Public Works Trust Fund number 834, Department number 50, to the Engineering Special Services Fund. That's Fund number 682, Department number 50, and to appropriate said amount in the Engineering Special Services Fund, that's Fund number 682, Department number 50, to a new appropriation unit entitled, quote, Taylor Yard G2, close quote, and to make payments for completion of the plan. 6, authorize reimbursements in the amount of $700,000 from the SCC to be deposited into the Engineering Special Services Fund and subsequently to be transferred back to the Public Works Trust Fund as directed by the city engineer. And number 7, request the controller to make technical corrections as they may be deemed necessary. And either Mr. Jordan or Mr. Campos, you have amendments or an amendment to what we just added or read?
That is correct, Executive Officer Fernando Campos. Commissioners, the items before you do require City Council approval on a couple of reasons. One, to transfer the funds from one account to another account requires the creation of a new appropriation account, so we'd like to make sure that everything goes without any hiccups or any problems with the Controller's Office. We'd like to get City Council's approval for that. In addition to that, when the monies do return back to Bureau of Engineering, the transfer back from Fund 682 back to 834 may require the approval from City Council since it would be a lump sum payment. The report currently indicates a payment at the end of the project, which is about 2 years or 2.5 years, and I'll defer to Ms. Doherty in terms of the exact payment schedule, but we would like to make sure that we have the approval there. And then the third reason is that we are requesting the controller to make any technical corrections, and therefore, in most occasions, the City Controller's Office typically likes to see the approvals from the controller, from the City Council as opposed to another department. However, this body can request, but doesn't necessarily authorize the technical corrections.
Would we get both City Council approvals in one fell swoop at the beginning?
We could have, the motion that's before you on recommendation number 1 is acknowledging the motion, but that motion is specific to the grant application and executing the grant agreements, but it doesn't give us the authority to accept that loan.
Okay.
Or to apply for the Public Works Trust Fund. Had there been one statement or one sentence in the motion, then you would be fine. So just to make sure that we're doing everything correctly, we are recommending that you approve this as amended, sending it or referring it to City Council for approval. It may take an extra couple of weeks to get that, so I apologize for that, but I think it's the right thing to do.
Okay. Ms. Doherty?
Hi, good morning. My name is Katie Doherty from the Bureau of Engineering. I'm here today to request a loan from the Public Works Trust Fund in the amount of $700,000 for site assessments and development of an implementation plan at Taylor Yard G2. The city purchased the LA River adjacent Taylor Yard G2 parcel in March of this year with the intentions of remediating the known brownfield site and creating riverine habitat and compatible recreation consistent with the city's LA River Revitalization Master Plan and the U.S. Army Corps' LA River Ecosystem Restoration Plan, also known as LARER or ARBOR, which are abbreviations for all the same thing. The Bureau of Engineering intends to take a phased approach to development of the site to allow more near-term interim uses on the cleaner portions of the site prior to development of the long-term ecosystem restoration project. The project was awarded a $2 million grant from the California State Coastal Conservancy to complete a comprehensive site assessment and develop the implementation plan for both interim and long-term uses. The grant will be dispersed on a reimbursement basis, so the purpose of this loan is to provide cash flow as reimbursements are received from the state. BOE is requesting that the loan be repaid once the final reimbursements from the state are received, and that's about April of 2019.
Ms. Doherty, are there any timing issues with the additional 2 weeks or so that will be needed for the added paperwork to get the council approvals as we've heard about?
No, the Bureau of Engineering is hoping to award the task to hire a consultant to help us with this work in September. So I think if we start that process now, the money should be
So we
to
have
us
time.
in time
To
pay the
we don't
invoices.
need Dr. Campos to call in a favor then.
No, I think we should be okay.
We should be fine.
All right. Well, that's good to know then. All right. Thank you. Commissioner Davis.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just have my light on.
Commissioner Davis is working with his microphone this morning. All right. I don't have any further questions on what we're doing. Is Commissioner Jacinto, though, would like to speak?
Right, thank you, President James. Katie, or actually, Dr. Campos, are we over-leveraged or overextended in terms of our Public Works Trust Fund? Isn't there a ratio or a percentage that we, just wanted a clarification on that?
You mean
Yeah.
regarding loan amounts?
Excellent question, Commissioner Jacinto. Our current practice right now is to have a loan ratio of no more than 25%. However, in discussing the loan ratios in Public Trust Fund, we've been able to go up to about 30% without overextending ourselves at this point in time. We are working right now with the City Administrative Officer to look at what a loan policy ratio should be as a whole and what other cities are doing for loan policies so that we have some benchmarking. But our current practice right now is 25, but we are allowing up to 30%. Once we hit the 30%, we are starting to say no to individuals that are asking for loans, and we've actually implemented that. We've said no to one other request. The item before you will put us at around 29%, including this $700,000 loan. So you're fine within that 30% maximum limit, if you will. In addition to that, the board, I believe on Monday or last week, approved a disapproval, if you will, or the release of a prior pre-approval for $55,000. That's going to reduce our percentage. In addition to that, we are working with the Bureau of Street Lighting to not ask for additional funds. This is another request that's coming down the pipeline. We're trying to figure out how to satisfy their requests without increasing the Public Works Trust Fund loan capacity, if you will. So you are currently in the gray area. We are cautioning this board to proceed with caution. However, I think at this point you're fine. Once it hits 30%, we will be making a recommendation not to approve those. Ultimately, it's your board's decision to make a decision whether you will approve the loan or not. But at this point, up to 30%, you should be fine.
Adding to Commissioner Jacinto's inquiry, do we have some funds that have been approved for loan that have not been drawn out because they haven't been needed yet?
Absolutely. So that's the
Street
Bureau of
lighting?
Street Lighting.
Yeah.
It's about $6.9 million. In addition to that, the Bureau of Sanitation has $1 million outstanding approval for the CAL FIRE grant. So those haven't technically been drawn down, but it's approved.
So even though we're authorized, the funding has not left the fund yet.
That is
so
correct.
we may have an authorized percentage, but the actual loaned percentage is lower.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
I would be curious to know what the other cities' practices are from your inquiry with the CAO's office, and I'm just gonna guess that 25% is low, 50% would be considered high. And we'll see what the margin is. Do you have any hints?
45% is probably on the high end for me, so 30% is probably a conservative, or 25% is conservative. However, we also do have a 25% working set aside for working capital as a whole. So right now, when I look at all the restricted funds in the Public Works Trust Fund, plus all the pending pre-approvals for the loans, we're actually around 79% when I look at all that, the reserve plus the restricted funds plus any outstanding loans. So we are hitting that top margin. So before we proceed, I'm just advising this board to proceed with caution at this point until we find all the data. In addition to that, we may be looking at possibly coming back to the board to possibly revise the loan policy, in which when we give out an approval from the board, that approval sunsets at some point in time, so that pre-approval doesn't extend for more than a year or 2 years. Right now, the two loans that we have already approved are about 1 year in age from the time that this board made a decision. So a possible potential option for us to consider in the future is to approve it for 6 months, no more than 1 year. If it exceeds 1 year, requesting the bureaus to come back for a secondary approval just to reset the clock, or two, to allow other projects that are shovel ready to move forward, as opposed to holding this money as a set aside.
I think that's a very good idea, Fernando, for further management of the fund, because it's kind of like a reservation system a little bit, where people go out and reserve. We have an issue in the film industry where people go to rec and parks and they reserve our parks, and they reserve 20 parks. They know they're only going to use 3 of them, but they take them up so other people can't use them, and we're having to find a way to make it more equitable for folks. And so people get an authority for money, and their project's not ready for 2 or 3 years. Somebody with a shovel-ready project could borrow the money, pay it back, and get that project done if we had the sunset provision and a little bit better way to police the application process. I think that's a great idea.
Agreed.
So thank you, sir. We'll look forward to that when you have the time to bring that to us. So how about all this additional discussion on this? Anything further on agenda item number 8? I don't have anything further. Commissioner Senta?
I just would ask, what is the clarification on the timing? The amendment is, are we waiting for city council now?
Yes, the amendment will require, we think, a couple of more weeks, maybe 3 more weeks, to get the additional paperwork done and through the council, but it won't need to come back here.
That is correct.
Okay. So Commissioner Davis, you have a motion. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 8 as amended. Thank you. Any issue sending number 8 as amended forthwith? We will do so. Agenda item number 9, authority for expenditure for truck owners on file, Bureau of Street Services and Office of Accounting, requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $3 million to provide funds for the Bureau's as-needed trucking program, which supplements existing staff in the transportation of materials, equipment, and debris throughout the city. Good morning, sir. How are you, sir?
Good morning, board members. My name is Sergio Samayon with the Bureau of Street Services, and I'm representing the Financial Management Division. And on behalf of the Office of Accounting and Bureau of Street Services, we're requesting the approval and execution of the authority for expenditure for $3 million, which includes contingencies, to ensure there's enough cash and adequate funding for the as-needed truck hauling program. Now, we just finished the fiscal year, so I have a status and a little bit of facts here, and then you can ask me questions about the program. So on average, we spent about $348,000 per payroll period. The truckers are compensated during payroll period. So in terms of this $3 million, based on last year's average, that would come out to about that should cover about 4.3 months, so about a third of the year. It's not guaranteed because it's going to depend on what the demand is for the truckers. This year, in 2017, we spent about $10.1 million, which lines up almost exactly with last year. It was about $25,000 difference. The majority of what they haul, the tonnage, goes to resurfacing, which is about 93%, and then about 7% goes to street cleaning. And then total tonnage for 2017 is 872,929 tonnage, which again lines up with what was last year. Right now, the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've been renewing the contracts, to setting up the new contracts, getting all the paperwork documentation in for all the truckers. We have 58 active truckers, and the new contracts have gone smoothly. There's only 2 truckers that have a couple of items, but most of their material documentation has been turned in, so we expect them to be part of that rotation. We also have a waiting list of 76 truckers. So with that, I will open it up to questions if there's any.
Commissioner Jacinto.
Thank you, President James. Sergio, thank you for the report. So $10 million we spend basically on additional trucking services.
Right.
How many of those trucks, and you might have mentioned this before, I just want to refresh our collective memory, how many of them are on alternative fuels? And how clean is this program?
I can't answer that question. I can do the research and get that back to you. I can't. I have a feeling that they're not necessarily on alternative fuels. We are the truckers actually. They just recently reconfigured the way they compensate to compete against like the private sector. So I know that there is that concern to make sure that we don't lose any truckers because of the demand. Right now, there's a lot of, we matched last year in terms of their production, but we expect that probably to go up because of the new Measure M, and the sidewalk repair program is increasing. And there's a lot of other programs that, are starting to ramp up to the point where we expect to really need these truckers a lot more than we have in the past.
Understood.
So we have to compete.
Yeah.
I know it's kind of different from that. So alternative fuels may go into that equation of what will make us competitive. We don't have them. They're not employees of the city, so they still have that ability to, mobility to go elsewhere if it becomes harder to do business with the city.
Understand, it becomes a contextual issue of, our mayor's sustainability plan and like what we did in franchise and all the haulers, and obviously taking a lot of those trucks off the road by zoning it. I think we want to take a look at that and to see with that balance between competitiveness, market, getting the best services, but also being clean and green.
That's a great question, and I will get back to you on that. I'll just to confirm whether that is part of the equation.
Very good. Thank you, Sergio.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis?
Yes, in terms of the environmental accountability that Jacinto was talking about, I wanted to get some clearer indication. Now, on the sanitation program, the citywide franchise, most of those individuals, I guess, are corporations. Is that correct in terms of the clean trucks that they are able to provide, or you don't?
The truckers are set up as owner operators.
Yours are individual.
Yeah, they're
private
individual
owners.
people. Yeah.
And the cost of the trucks, the clean trucks, we don't even know what those are, do we?
I would imagine they vary because they're, how they maintain them, and it's up to them. But
And what about incentives? Are there incentives for folk to buy those kind of trucks?
Well,
for the private owners, I know the corporations certainly have organizational goals and objectives to transfer to clean, and certainly we want to do that.
Right.
And I know that and I know this is also not your bureau, but I'm doing a comparative here as I try to explore the impact of that on this particular program that you're managing. The resources, I guess, for smaller businesses probably isn't there, which means there would need to be some kind of incentive, and we don't know of any incentive.
Correct.
programs.
I totally agree that would be if we wanted them to adopt, like alternative fuels and cleaner equipment, we would have to provide some kind of additional incentive.
That is correct. So, and we don't know of any city where, in fact, there is an incentive program for individual truck owners.
I personally don't know.
It is an issue to look at, a problem to explore in the future, because on one hand, we would put out of business these trucks, and they would be unemployed. We would eat them up financially some other kind of way in terms of how we manage and handle unemployed truckers. on that hand. So I think probably looking at, in fact, in this area, if there is some other city, I don't know if Commissioner Jacinto knows, if some other city might have an incentive program for individual truckers like this, because if we, I know that some of the truckers in the Bureau of Sanitation maybe perhaps weren't able to matriculate in the new citywide program. I don't know what they're doing now. So if we put these truckers out of business, then first of all, is there some incentive to keep them in business? And then if we put them out of business, what are they supposed to do? So those are some of the issues that we have to think about, and I've heard you speak to that. I would like to look towards incentives and exploring what other cities might do.
Yeah,
and that, because the mayor at the same time, while he on one hand wants environment, his very first principle of Back to Basics says create jobs in Los Angeles for all of Los Angeles.
Right.
So with that in mind, we've got some real creative and innovative thinking to do.
Right. We have the goals of the city and also, you know, the increased demand, and we have to balance it out and make sure. So I will do the research. I'll check in with sanitation to see what they're doing and what the difference is between the programs.
And if there are some other cities in the country that might have an incentive program, because we're not
could probably do that research.
Urban area with individual small businesses that work with the urban economy. And having said that, there may be some municipality that has come up with something that we might need to know about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Environmental improvements come from ideas and inquiries. The only thing I would put on the table, Commissioner Davis, you put on the table some of the realistic elements of improvements that you want to balance. You mentioned that we don't want to put these truckers out of business. And something that Sergio alluded to that could happen too is you could force them out of our market to other markets, and then it creates a challenge of meeting our goals and getting our work done for the benefit of our residents. But I think it'll be an interesting inquiry, and we do have a partner that is somewhat similarly situated in sanitation, not precisely with their fleet. Okay.
Okay.
The Bureau of Sanitation, they have trucks. That's all I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, and they have trucks with fuel. Right, understood. And that was Sergio's point, that these truckers are not city truckers. But it may have been done in other cities. Great, thank you. Anything further on this? So you come to us about quarterly on these, right?
Excuse me?
You come about quarterly on these? You visit us about quarterly for these updates? For the authority,
you know,
for
this is the
expenditure?
second time I'm here for this, and
Each year?
It's about
It's
about every 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The only reason,
I was here like a couple of months ago, so it was the final sort of installment of the cash that we needed for, and then this, based on, if I were just to based on historical how much we've spent, this is about a third of the budget for the year, okay? So I would only have to come back twice. But I have a feeling that, you know, it just depends on, you know, if the weather permits and there's just a lot more activity. I mean, the sky's the limit in terms of the projects that we're going to be heading into. You know, Street Services is creating
my question
a
was
division.
more simple. All I'm trying to do is find out when you might be back to give us a report on the clean truck issue.
Probably no later than next quarter, maybe a couple months.
Okay, and so that's maybe enough time for you to at least do a preliminary
not a
inquiry
problem.
into
Maybe
what other cities do.
Right.
That's all I was going to say.
I'll get it to you as soon as possible,
Yeah.
and I'm prepared. By the way, last time you asked me if the 2,400 lane miles, if we were tied to that goal. You know, we don't actually do the resurfacing, but we work in support, and that goal was met this year. So,
Right.
you know, I asked about it because you asked me about it last time.
You provide the support for it. You can't do 2,400 miles without asphalt.
Right,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 9, seconded by Commissioners Jacinto and Davis, so that will pass accordingly. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. Thank you, Sergio. Agenda item number 10, an oral report from the 6th Street Viaduct, Bureau of Engineering, Julie Allen.
Good
Good morning.
Good
Julie Allen,
morning.
Bureau of Engineering, 6th Street Viaduct Program. I'm happy to be here today to give our quarterly report on the project, and we have a PowerPoint that I'll be showing you, along with Natalie Moore, my colleague, that will be assisting me. So what I'm going to start with is a virtual tour of the finished bridge. It's a flyover that I can point out some of the elements of the bridge. So we start on the east side over the 101 freeway. We're going to be passing 10 pairs of arches that go from one end to the other, and on the sidewalks they vary. We're going kind of quickly, but you can see they vary from about 8 feet wide to about 14 feet wide, whether you're next to an arch or between the arches. We have
cool.
we
Sorry, it's just really cool. Go ahead.
We have a 10-foot bicycle lane, so bicycle riders will be able to travel safely along the viaduct with a buffer between them and the vehicles that are driving. Now we're pulling off to the side. It will come back under the bridge. So it passes over 18 railroad tracks, the LA River, and touches down on the west side, crossing over Santa Fe right now. This is one of the sets of stairs. There are 5 altogether. They go from the ground all the way up to the deck of the viaduct. And we'll be coming under the viaduct here where you'll be able to see the early stages of the landscaping plan. We're working on the conceptual design right now, so don't take anything you see as a final design for the landscaping. What we're going to be going into now is a helical ramp. This takes pedestrians, bicycles, skateboarders, anything that needs a ramp to go from the deck down to the ground. It's a 3-level helical structure, and on one side of it, there's a ramp that goes under the bridge, which we're going to be traveling under now.
You say skateboarders?
If they walk it, yeah.
I was going to say, that could be
we don't want too many people.
Quite a competition between the pedestrians and the skateboarders.
Correct.
So this put up a higher wall, but go ahead.
I agree. This bridge a pedestrian bridge crosses under the main viaduct and connects people to now the south side of the viaduct. So whether you're going on the south side sidewalk or the north side, you'll have a ramp availability to get down to the park.
And there's a shortcut if you want to go straight down instead of taking the mile route?
There is a stair. There are 4 stairs on the east side that you can take directly down.
You can take the scenic route of the coil, but...
Correct. Yeah. That gives people in wheelchairs or people that don't have ability to use staircases to have an ability to go from the deck down to the ground without going to either end of the bridge.
Some people will just want to walk the coil because it's cool.
It is, yeah. You get a different perspective on LA and the surrounding area and even the landscaping below. So I wanted to just let everyone see that. We're looking forward to that in 2020 when it'll actually be open to the public. Now I'll go through a little bit more details about where we are and what we've done in the last quarter. So what you see there is an overview schedule of the bridge. What this shows is the 6 main construction packages. What's not shown here is that we have 4 right-of-way packages that we're also delivering, which were the building demolitions and the utility relocations. We're also delivering 3 active transportation program grant elements, which will provide new sidewalks, street lighting, new signal in the areas north and south of the bridge, which aren't part of this project, but we're delivering to provide accessibility and improvements in the neighborhood surrounding the bridge. So this shows the dashed line vertically at the end of July where we are to date. It lets you see a little bit about the construction packages where we are. What this demonstrates is that we will be completing the foundation package this coming spring. That'll be the 23 10-foot diameter piles that go 160 feet deep in the ground. So far we've done 14 out of the 23 of those installed. Everything east of the LA River is installed. And we'll be starting the ones on the west late summer, early fall, and we'll be completing those in the spring. They also are doing the abutments as part of that package on either end of the bridge. And in the viaduct package, we're about 15% complete, and I'll show some pictures that show the progress of work on that package. Landscaping is currently in the conceptual stage and design, and we'll be planning to complete that by June of 2021, but with phased openings as we have areas below the bridge to work on the landscaping package so we can open it as we have the areas.
Is that a long period of time for design for the landscaping package?
It is longer than if there was float in the schedule. We can't start landscaping until the viaduct package and the false work comes down.
Cushion.
So yeah, we have a cushion, but we're also doing a EIR specifically for the landscaping package, which does take some time. One of the components of that is a hazmat study. We've encountered some contaminated soils and soil gases in the area. In fact, it's about half of the overall area is going to have some kind of remediation. So we're going to do a health hazard risk assessment and determine a remedial action plan. So all those things take a lot of time. So that was factored into our design schedule.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry. I
No problem.
interrupted you.
Feel free to stop me anytime. It's easier than coming at the end. So what you see in the current photo is the next phase of work that's starting the viaduct package, which is actually, this is ending the landscaping, or the foundation package. It's called the lower columns, and what this is the structure between the foundation where it hits the ground, it comes to the ground, and up to the bearing. We have seismic bearings that the bridge sits on for earthquakes, and this is the structural component between the foundation and that bearing. So what you see on the left of your picture is what's called a void form. This is where we have drainage and electrical conduit that run through it. And on the right, it's how it's attached to the structural element of the lower column. Go ahead and click to the next one. And what's on the left now is where the form is wrapped around that structure, and on the right is when the forms are released. So that's what the completed lower column looks like. And so far we have 10 of those that are installed out of the foundation package, and we're continuing to move from east to west. The next phase of work will be the viaduct package, and what you see on this photo is called the Y-bent, and that's the element that goes from the bearing up into the deck of the bridge, and it's what connects you to the arches. So that's about a 30-foot long structure. It varies from bent to bent, but it's hard to tell by the scale of that, but it's a large, very large wood element that'll get stood upright, and that's what they will be using to form the concrete for the lower column. So that work is in progress as we speak. The next item of work that's in progress are these columns that will be for the ramp. The ramp structure I showed you that goes under the bridge and connects the helical ramp to the south side of the viaduct. All those columns need to be placed under the bridge, and once the bridge is in the way, they won't be able to get the crane in there to support it, so they're building all of those foundations and columns now. And on the right is one of the stair columns. As I mentioned, we have 5 stairs that go from the deck to the ground. They're able to complete 3 of them before the bridge goes up, so they're working on those now, and that's what that picture is on the right. We're also working heavily in the river. It's the summer, and it's the easiest time to get any work done in the river, so we have a lot of work going on. They're taking down the channel lining on the west side. They're going to build a retaining wall. They're also going to build, go ahead and show it in the next picture. These are temporary columns that have been placed in the river by the contractor, and they'll stay in year-round, and this allows them to build false work up on top of this platform so that they can continue to keep working during the rain. So they're designed with the Army Corps to ensure that they can take high water flows that happen during the winter season. So all this has to get done, completed, and out of the river by October, so they're working frantically as we speak. The next slide is where we are with change orders. Right now we're just over 1% overall, which is really low, but we just awarded the viaduct, so we expect that number will go up. But I did want to highlight that I've categorized them on the lower left of the slide. Of the 2.8 million that we have overall, about 700 of that was for contaminated soil that we've had to remediate. 1.3 million was not a project change, but actually a scope movement from right-of-way package to construction package of a big storm drain relocation that we did. So that was not added project scope. It was just assigning it to a different phase of work. And we've also had about 200,000 in errors and omissions and some unforeseen conditions and scope changes that are pretty minor. So overall, we're very happy with the change order percentage that we've had on the project, and we hope to continue that trend. The next to last slide is just a sample of some of the public outreach documents that we provide to the public. The contractor provides regular updates on the progress of work and what areas of the bridge that they're working on, so that the public is aware of the construction progress, as well as any work that's upcoming that'll affect their access to the site. So if we have work for utilities in one of the access roads nearby, then the public is notified in advance. And the last slide is just a current conceptual rendering of the landscaping design. I added this just for your reference, and I already talked about the soil investigation. I will also highlight that Council District 14 has been a huge proponent and supporter of this landscaping package, and they've actually identified $6 million of their own discretionary funds that they are willing to contribute to make sure that the programming elements of the park are something that the community is really going to appreciate and
great.
use. So, yeah, we're very thankful to Council District 14 for that. We'll plan to go out to the public probably this fall with this conceptual design, to get their input and fine-tune us to move us into the design development stage. So with that, I just wanted to also thank all of the bureaus that are represented by Department of Public Works. All contribute to the 6th Street Viaduct project. We have issues and benefits that we have with each and every department. Conad's out there with us daily doing the inspection, and everybody's been extremely supportive, and I'm very happy with all the interaction that we have with all the other bureaus. So I just wanted to point that out to you while I had the opportunity. And I don't have any other things to report, so I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for the report. It's always nice to get the updates on this very exciting project. And thank you for what you said at the end. It's also nice to hear about collaboration between departments, but especially between the bureaus that make up the Department of Public Works. It's something that the 5 of us try and work hard to find ways to improve, because you can always improve it. It's nice to hear when some of that work has taken hold on its own, obviously out of necessity, but it's still always nice to hear, because the public is better served by it. And what's the first projected date for the opening of the bridge for traffic, so that there's some relief for Fernando Campos as he drives to work each morning?
Me too, actually. September 22nd, 2020 is our milestone date to open the bridge. And then
September
we'll have
22nd, 2020? Okay. Was there a reason that I thought it was 2019, other than I was just mistaken?
Previously, that was our target date to open it. So that when we awarded the project, as we're working with the contractor through their detailed schedule for how they can build the project with all the constraints that we have with the railroads and the river, it was determined that September of 2020 was the earliest they'd be able to get it done. And this involves them working double shifts and Saturdays, and really having a lot of close activities that we have to watch. There wasn't a lot of float in the schedule to get us to September 2020. So the 2019 date was based on preliminary schedule layout by the contractor. But
Well, that's why I was mistaken.
yeah, that was.
All right, well, it'll be here before you know it. How about that? Then you'll go on vacation for a little while.
Happily, yes.
All right, well, thank you, Julie. Commissioner Jacinto, we'll start with you.
Thank you, President James. I second your comments about the leadership and really the interdependency that we have as a department in building this and managing this project. So I appreciate your comments as well in edifying the interdependency that we have of all our bureaus working together. So thank you, Julie, for your leadership. Great report, great quarterly report. That video at the beginning was just stellar. I was leaning this way and that way, kind of like a virtual. It is a virtual tour. Is that a public document? Is it now as you presented to us? Is that
we haven't presented it as we don't have a link to it anywhere, but I don't think that there's any reason we couldn't put it up on our website and
as President said, let's do
with
it.
some disclaimer that it may not represent the final whatever.
But it's so exciting.
Whatever disclaimer language Jordan throws into it.
Okay.
But I thought it was amazing how you got that little bitty drone under the rendering over there at the.
That's impressive what they can do with computers now.
Right. So that video, as well as the 1% change order where we're at right now, and a lot of those were, due to unforeseen conditions too. So we're doing a really good job. Congratulations on managing this, working with the general contractor to make sure that it's tight. The community engagement has been stellar in terms of working with the local community, all the different, especially with the landscape packages and the relationship with City 14. And thanks to Councilman Huizar for his support and contributions to this iconic bridge. This is a bridge for the next century. And so it's really exciting to be a part of it at this point in time. We're doing a really good job, and let's continue to do that. So thank you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacinto. So, Julie, the oral report will be received. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes.
All right, then we are adjourned this Wednesday morning. Thank you, everyone.